What's up, everyone? Chris Clark here from GamecockCentral.com, GC Live, Wednesday edition. And yes, J-Dub, as you pointed out from YouTube, hey, thanks for being here. And sorry that I'm running a little bit behind. Crazy day, crazy week, crazy few weeks, crazy life right now. So thanks a lot for joining. Greg, what's going on? That must have been the first time you saw our new intro. Glad you enjoyed it. Figured we needed to repurpose that a little bit. Earlier show today for a few different reasons. Number one, Shane Beamer kicked off his Welcome Home tour last night, yesterday afternoon and yesterday evening. One stop in Florence, one stop in Myrtle Beach. I was at both. So got back a little bit later in the evening last night. Later today, 5 p.m., Fluor Field, Greenville. Another Welcome Home tour for Shane Beamer. That will be the last one in the month of May because on June 1st, it is absolutely wide open, completely wild in Columbia with recruiting reopening for the first time. Shane Beamer yesterday talked about that a little bit. I'm going to play a little bit of video and audio from Shane Beamer here in a bit that will give you a little insight into what he said at the Florence stop. Talked to him beforehand at the Myrtle Beach stop as well. Like I said, Greenville, I'll be there later, so stay tuned to GamecockCentral.com to check out what Shane Beamer says there. And for those wondering, hey, why is the Welcome Home Tour not coming to my city? Well, there will be more stops in July. They've yet to announce them officially, but based on what I've heard, there's going to be one, I think, in the Low Country, in Charleston. I think they're looking at maybe doing a Charlotte/Rock Hill stop. And I think there's another one or two in there. The dates, I think, are already being set. I'll try to pin that down for y'all and be able to run it for you here later. So, packed show today. First of all, before we get into that, we are sponsored, as always, by Clint Hammond of the Mortgage Network here on GC Live. He is our primary presenting sponsor. Does an absolutely outstanding job, does Clint Hammond of the Mortgage Network. Go to ClintHammond.com or 803-771-6933 if you want to look at refinancing. You want to take a look at your rate, see if that's possible. If you're looking at buying, make sure you give Clint a call. He's absolutely outstanding at what he does. Nationally recognized, so give him a call, 803-771-6933. Put it up here on the screen for you guys watching on YouTube or any of our streaming services, Facebook Live, Periscope, NMLS number 71597. So again, thanks to Clint Hammond for being our primary presenting sponsor. Hey to everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope. If you're listening later on the pod, keep in mind we are recording this Wednesday at about 12:10 p.m. And so keep that in mind just for your purposes of knowing what's current. A couple announcements here. First of all, gonna play some audio/video from Shane Beamer at the Florence stop yesterday, the first Welcome Home tour. And then we're going to be joined at about 12:15 by Greg Wright. Greg, if you do not know the name, is a former walk-on at the University of South Carolina. Played for Steve Spurrier. He was there during Spurrier's first year, so going to ask him about that a little bit. Guys, remember the last Gamecock guest that we had who played and then was a graduate assistant for the Gamecocks, which Greg also was. The last guy we had in here that did that played and spent time coaching at Carolina, was Dennis Thomas, and he was an outstanding interview. Greg's a guy I've kept in touch with over the years, currently a high school head football coach in the state of South Carolina, and does an outstanding job on that front. So looking forward to having him about 12:15 or so. And then I want to get more into what Shane Beamer said during the Welcome Home tour, some of the things that I've picked up along the way, answer any questions that you guys and gals may have. We can get into some recruiting, get into some baseball. Obviously, Gamecocks lose in Hoover, which is something that is not atypical for this Gamecock team. Even the ones that have gone on to win the national championship have not always had great success out in Hoover. Colin Taylor was out there planning on the lengthier stay, but will now be returning to Columbia at some point without having covered a lot of Carolina baseball games. We might have Colin on maybe Friday or something like that. Today's show may be a little bit more abbreviated. Number one, I started late. Sorry. Number two, I want to play some of this Beamer video. I want to talk to Greg Wright about 12:15, and then I want to be able to talk with you guys and girls a little bit on the show. So thanks for being here again. You might notice the only guest that I have with me right now is a portrait of Sidney Rice behind me. No Wes Mitchell today. So where is he? Well, if you missed it last week, Wes is on vacation right now. So he is probably sitting on a beach somewhere. I feel pretty certain he is sitting on a beach somewhere. I've not talked to him today because I don't want to bother him. Probably sitting on a beach. Maybe he's got an umbrella drink. If he doesn't have an umbrella drink, I'm sure that he has his absolutely giant jug or whatever you call that thing of water that he debuted on our show recently. And is it filled with something else besides water? I don't know. We'll find out when he comes back. But probably it's pretty hot, I think, out on the beach. It's certainly hot in Columbia. And so he probably has water in that thing, or he needs to have water in that thing along with his umbrella drink if he has it. So before Greg Wright comes on, and I did hear from him earlier, and it looks like he's got the link to click in and everything about 12:15. I'm going to play a little bit of audio here, or video, from Shane Beamer. If you guys cannot hear this, keep in mind that Wes, our producer extraordinaire, host, all those hats that he wears is not in. But this should work just fine. And this is Shane Beamer yesterday at the first Florence Welcome Home Tour stop, talking Gamecock football and recruiting.
So excited to get back out and connect with our amazing fan base. Obviously, it's been with COVID. It's a long time since people have been able to come together in so many settings like this. So to be able to get out and reunite and connect with people is awesome, but to be able to do it with so many awesome Gamecocks across the state of South Carolina and this region, I'm really fired up about to be part of.
I know it was expected, but to go full strength, full capacity this fall. I know everybody's doing it now, but just for you and your first game, knowing that there's going to be a full house there.
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, just to see the crowds and the environment down at Kiowa last weekend, and then to think about Williams-Brice Stadium in the fall and the energy and excitement around South Carolina football right now, to have a packed Williams-Brice Stadium when we kick it off against Eastern Illinois is something that I couldn't be more excited about.
Do you remember going to these things with your dad?
Yeah, I do. Probably early on wasn't as well attended and passionate the fan base as we are right now, or Virginia Tech is right now, but certainly remember going to events like these with him over the years, and when I was coaching at Mississippi State, Sylvester Croom had the assistants go out and talk, so I did it then. Coach Spurrier used to have us go out and talk. I did a lot of them at Virginia Tech, so I've always enjoyed it. It's what makes college athletics so great, and something that I've been to a lot of them, but they never get old.
How many new plays we have? How many new plays will we be given today, do you think?
I'm sure. I had someone ask me last week if we were going to score any points this year. That was their first question. So I love it. You know, we got a passionate fan base. I'm sure we'll have some new plays, and I'm all ears and open to any and all suggestions.
Sorry about that little delay there, guys. Trying to switch back there. That was not all the Beamer audio, but a few minutes of it. I think there's maybe 5 more minutes or so that maybe later in the show we will play. But you're there at the end, Anderson from WX asking Shane Beamer if he was going to give away any plays. And Beamer mentioned that at Florence. I think he might have mentioned it at Myrtle Beach too, and just about how he was asked if they were going to score any points on at all on a Zoom, I guess, interview that he had recently, and he sort of got a kick out of that. But there was somebody. I did stay at Florence for the portion where Shane Beamer addressed the crowd. So typically how these things work is he'll talk to the media beforehand, and then he will address the crowd later. He had a new swimming and diving coach with him. He had the new soccer coach, Tony Anand, with him. At Florence had Mike Peterson, assistant coach who coaches the edges for the Gamecocks. And then in Myrtle Beach had Jimmy Lindsay, who coaches the interior defensive lineman for the Gamecocks with him. And, it was kind of funny because he mentioned, that somebody asked him if they were going to score any points at all. And during the Florence talk, during the sort of public portion, there's a question and answer session, and somebody indeed raised his hand and asked if Shane Beamer is planning on throwing to the tight end this year. So that was classic. I do think that gentleman was sort of in on the joke. You know, it's kind of a running joke in Gamecock Nation that on the call-in show, whoever it may be, you know, when Spurrier used to do it, when Will Muschamp used to do it, Shane Beamer, the tight end conversation always comes up. Are you going to throw it to the tight end? And so someone did ask that last night, but it wasn't one of those serious like Carolina calls things where somebody calls and they're legitimately mad and really, really being serious and wondering, hey, are you going to go throw to the tight end this year? And somebody asked it with sort of a chuckle. And Beamer kind of said, he laughed and he said, look, yes. He said, in fact, at first play of the game this season, we probably are going to try to throw it to the tight end just to force it and say we did it. But it's really going to be, you know, just a side note on tight ends. Something that he mentioned yesterday was the fact that, look, you kind of look at what this team's strengths are and maybe what they need to get better at. And we know it's not any type of state secret or anything. This team needs to get better at the receiver position. They're still, you know, Luke Doty's going into his first year as a full-time starter. So there's still some things to prove there despite that talent, leadership. The strengths of this team offensively in terms of guys that can have the ball in their hands are tight end and running back. You know, they feel pretty good about those spots. And the anecdote that Shane Beamer went back to yesterday was, you know, when you sort of go, when you sort of during the spring poll your coaching staff and say, hey, who's sort of our best guys on each side of the ball? Who needs to be on the field? Who needs to be touching the ball when you're thinking about offense? And he said that there were some guys that were on every single coach's list as far as, you know, your best guys offensively. Two of the guys that he mentioned were tight ends. I mean, Nick Muse is an obvious one, and Jaheim Bell was another one, you know, second-year tight end, who's obviously, you know, he did a really nice job during the spring. So tight end's certainly going to be a point of emphasis, all jokes aside, for the Gamecocks. USC Insider asking anyone going to the Welcome Home Tour in Greenville today. I don't know if you're asking me or the crowd. I'll pose it to both. USC Insider, I will be there covering that. And so if anybody else is going, drop it in the comments. And look forward to seeing some of you guys out there. I'm gonna hit on that a little bit later as far as getting a chance to meet some of you guys. Coach Wright is now in. Coach, you're not in yet. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay. Let's see. Do not have the thumbs up yet from Coach Wright. Can you hear me, Coach? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay. You know what we're going to do is here we go. We got thumbs up. What's up, Coach? Greg Wright?
Hey, not much. How you?
Yeah, thanks a lot for being here. Sorry about the little tech issue here. I'm missing, you'll probably notice, missing Wes Mitchell today. I hope you'll still do the show without him gracing us with our presence. So, yeah, I appreciate you joining me. Looks like you're live based on the colors in the classroom, live from Timberland High. Down in the
without a doubt.
Looks like. Yeah, so I was introducing you to the audience earlier. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, on Gamecock Central social channels. This will be on the podcast network later as well.
Okay.
Former Gamecock Greg Wright spent time obviously playing for South Carolina, spent time as a graduate assistant at South Carolina. So plenty familiar with the program. I know you're always still hanging around the program. So I wanted to bring you on and just sort of pick your brain and just chat with you and sort of get you back out in front of the Gamecock faithful here. So appreciate you being on the show. And look who has joined us, Wes Mitchell. We do not know if this is the actual Wes Mitchell. Maybe it's an imposter. Who knows? But thanks for being on, Wes. What's going on, man? Hope you're drinking a huge water or something else on the beach right now. So, Coach, let's get to it. First of all, thanks again for being here. How are things down in Timberland? Head football coach now at Timberland High down in the country.
Oh, it's going pretty good. Can't complain at all. You know, everybody's been very supportive. Great tradition down here. I'm from down this way. A lot of family and friends here, so it's been a good transition. You know, I'm trying to get the right people around me and everything, do the right things for these kids, but I'm not bad at all. I can't complain. Good
stuff. So I want to go back to, you know, your career at South Carolina. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You spent some time at another program before you moved on to South Carolina and originally walked on, right? That was in 2005?
Yes, that was 2004. That's correct.
2004. Okay. So you were there for Steve Spurrier's first season.
Mm-hmm.
What did you played a couple different positions, right? Played some
Yes,
safety,
moved around, bounced around from safety, and then they moved me to the spur position. Coach Cooper and Coach Nixon, they moved me to the spur position. So in that hybrid nickel position that everybody plays right now.
How did you first get to South Carolina? Sort of what went into that decision? What was behind the decision to move on and go back and play for the Gamecocks and walk onto the program?
Fresh out of high school, played in the North South. Had a couple opportunities to go to like Mars Hill, Middle Tennessee State. But Coach Kosh had recruited me in high school and, went on to Mars Hill, made the decision, hey, I want to, try to go after bigger dreams and go play at South Carolina. And at the time, Coach Kosh told me, hey, if I can come down and walk on, but I had to get some things straight for us, academics, transferring over and everything. So I actually got there in 2004 and I redshirted, under the Lou Holtz because I, moving up. So I had to sit out. So that's really what happened. Then I played for Spurrier and next year. And then by that next, do you have me?
I'm losing you just a little bit here, Greg. You're sort of frozen up for me.
Okay.
Right now, lost audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, can hear you. Still a little bit iffy on the video, but I can hear you all right.
Okay. Yes. All right. What about now?
Yeah, still a little rough, still a little choppy. We could see if we can keep it going in terms of the audio. You're sort of frozen up on the screen a little bit there. But yeah, we'll keep we'll keep trying to go there. We'll see if we can get you situated here to definitely answer this. But always interesting when guys, to me, play for a couple of different coaching staffs. That transition period is always kind of interesting. You've got, like Dennis Thomas that we had on recently. He started out playing for Brad Scott, ended up playing for Lou Holtz. You come in at the tail end of the Lou Holtz era, end up playing for Steve Spurrier. How was that? You have two like college football legends there, and
Right.
you got to play for both of them, and
Yes.
and also not only college football legends, but like really big and different personalities.
Right.
Were those two guys? I mean, is that sort of an accurate picture of what they're like? Looks like I lost Greg again. He's sort of frozen up on me, guys. You know how audio can be at schools. I'm gonna actually take him out real quick, and we'll see if he can bring him back in later. So, sorry about the tech issues there. Hey, we got Greg to confirm that Steve Spurrier and Lou Holtz are big personalities. So, if nothing else, we got that from him. I hope we can get him back on because Greg, really insightful dude. We'll see if we can get him back on here later. If not, we're definitely going to have to schedule a makeup with Greg Wright. Again, former Gamecock walk-on, played for Lou Holtz, played for Steve Spurrier, came in at the tail end of the Lou Holtz era. Maybe didn't see that one ending like it did. And once Holtz walked away, Steve Spurrier obviously comes into the fold. So he gets to play for two college football legends. Definitely has some stories. Played against some really good competition, played with some good players, played for Holtz and Spurrier. So we'll see if we can get Greg back in. If not, we'll have him on another time. Maybe with Wes Mitchell back in the house, who apparently is watching the show right now. Craig saying that Greg Wright looks like he could still play. I agree. He keeps in pretty good shape. A lot of former Gamecocks who, like, you see him and you feel like they could still play. And I think Greg is one of those guys. And he obviously stayed very involved with the game. Head coach down there at Timberland High School. He's been head coach a couple other programs in the state too. I think he was at Swansea. I think he was at Eau Claire before. So he stayed home in the state of South Carolina, stayed around here. Didn't get to his time yet as a graduate assistant at South Carolina. Didn't even get to dive into his career yet. So hopefully we'll get to some of that stuff. If not, we'll get him on another time. maybe we'll have to get Greg Wright live in an actual studio at some point. You never know. So anyway, all right. So we'll see if I'll see if I can effort getting Greg on. While I'm doing that, we actually have the benefit of having not live on the show, but we do have some Shane Beamer audio, and we'll try to play that. But first, it looks like Greg, Coach, do we have you back on now? It looks like we might have him. We'll add him back.
Can you hear me?
I got you.
All right, sounds good.
It's a lot more stable. You must have plugged into like a super.
Right.
So I think where we were, and if we lose you again, we'll reschedule. We'll get you back in.
Okay.
So I appreciate you working with me. I know how the high school like Wi-Fi can be. It's a little rough sometimes.
Definitely.
So all right, where we were before, you get to play for Holtz. You get to play for Spurrier. Two big personalities. Do you have everybody who's played for Holtz and or Spurrier? There are some guys like yourself who play for both. They have a story, like on some kind of story with some kind of punishment or an impression or whatever. Do you have a Holtz or Spurrier impression? First of all, there's a lot of guys that have one.
You know, everybody got a Coach Spurrier one, but you know, I was only with Lou Holtz for 1 year. The biggest thing, he's a great motivator. Always, hey, you know, he didn't care. Old lineman, hey, he would be like, hey, you might kick my behind, but hey, I'll get right back up and I'm gonna come at you again. You know, that's Lou Holtz. But as far as in the film room, Coach Spurrier, I mean, I remember Rodney Polk walked in there, and he used to when he first got to school, and he had on like this fishnet little cut-off shirt. And Coach Spurrier, he saw him walking in there, everybody looked like, and Coach Spurrier was like, hey man, hey, what, you lose a bet? Hey, don't do that no more. Don't do that no more.
Just roasting people. Was it bad? I have heard some stories. I don't know if I've got permission to tell several of them, maybe one day, about the film with Spurrier. Was that when he was like his most brutal? Like when he's like when he's got the pointer up there, what are you doing here? That type of thing. Like was that the worst thing, or was it like more on-field discipline and things he said?
Oh yeah, he'll definitely, you know, when he keeps running the playback, and I won't tell who it was, but he kept running this playback, and he was talking about somebody else, and he said, and everybody kept saying, ooh, every time he rewinded back, he was trying to coach somebody up, and everybody kept saying, ooh, and he said, who is that? And he finally saw we were looking at, somebody had got blown up. And he said, hey man, keep your head on the swivel. Hey, don't do that no more, man. Keep your head on the swivel.
Don't do that anymore. That's a great coaching point. Don't do that. do that.
Yep.
That's a good point. So, all right, let's go to Steve Spurrier's first year. Okay, 2005.
Mm-hmm.
And when did you finish up at Carolina? What was the last playing
07 was my last playing year, 2007.
Okay, 2007.
Mm-hmm.
That was Shane Beamer's first year. Is that right?
Yeah, he was my position coach.
All right, so we're going to dive into that for sure. That's really relevant right now, especially. But so 2005, Spurrier's first year. There are obviously a couple of big games that I can think of that year. Number one, y'all go down to Tennessee.
Oh yeah,
in Knoxville, win for the first time. Tell me about that experience.
Oh man, it was a night we'll never forget. I mean, it was freezing cold. I remember like it was yesterday, and Josh hit the field goal at the end to win the game. I mean, being a Gamecock, you hate the Rocky Top song, but I loved it that night because we could party on their field. So it was a great experience. So I always got Rocky Top in my head because we had a good experience down there. You
remember anything about the locker room after that game, like especially with Coach Spurrier? Coach Spurrier, he liked to tweak everybody. Like it seemed he got a really big kick out of Tennessee. Tennessee, he seemed to really, really enjoy. Well, he liked beating everybody. You can say that about most schools.
Definitely.
Anything did he say anything before or after that game that you can remember? Or was it kind of too long ago where you don't really?
No, I don't really remember. That was kind of too long ago. But I mean, like I said, it was a great night. When we got back, the big thing about it, I mean, we got off the plane and it was flooded. At the airport, everybody was waiting on us to get back. And I think at the stadium, so it was a big deal. It was back-to-back weeks, I believe. beat Florida that next week or something like that. We had game of the week, national game of the week. I think it was like 2 weeks in a row. So it was big.
And that's the next one I was going to bring up. So Florida in 2005, Urban Meyer's first year, I think, at Florida, if I'm not mistaken, and a day game, different vibe at Williams-Brice. You know, the thing that stands out to me about that game, I remember a lot of the plays. I don't know why, but the Chris Tucker, Stanley Doty dancing.
Oh yeah, jig. They used to jig. That was Cheese still. You know, he's from right outside of New Orleans. Amy actually were from Devin. What's the receiver from Alabama? They from the same hometown. Devin Smith. And Cheese used to always talk about jigging. So that was the dance that Cheese used to do. And they used to get the crowd hype, used to get the players hype. So we loved it. That's just Cheese. That's just Stanley Doty for you.
And Chris Tucker, what was it? It was an interception, right?
Yeah.
I think it was
an interception that got ricocheted, and he caught it, and he rolled all the way down the sideline to the end zone. So it was a great deal.
Rumbling, stumbling. I remember I had him on, I think, a podcast and talked about that, and he was just cracking up about the dancing and about that play. We did a story with him about it.
Right. But
looking back on that game, it was hilarious. Those guys, I mean, those are some characters.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. We had some great times with them.
Were those the biggest characters on the team? Like Chris and Stanley, were they the biggest ones, or like biggest jokesters, like type of guys?
They definitely. I mean, everybody was jokesters then, but Nashawn, Nashawn, Chris Hampton, those guys, Mike West. Always, Fred Bennett was a big jokester too, so we was always getting into it, cracking jokes. So, but
now, Chris Hampton, that one surprises me a little bit. Like, he's a funny dude, but like he always seemed a little bit more big time coach now.
Right.
Obviously, like way moving up in the coaching world, big time right now.
Oh yeah,
super smart dude. I didn't peg him for a jokester though, but he was one.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Oh yeah, that's my roommate. So yeah, without a doubt, 24/7. Yep.
Right.
Yeah, always joking. But that was the whole team, the environment. We had a lot of fun.
Right. So tell me about I don't know, like what's the best memory you have, like maybe a game that you helped impact, contribute, like best moment, anything that comes to mind there, even if you weren't on the field necessarily for it at the particular time.
I would say, always your first tackle in a live game. We was down at Georgia. We actually beat them that day. I think it was Spurs' first year. Down at Georgia, correct? Yep. So that was my first tackle, college tackle, you know what I mean? So that was a big moment. It was on kickoff. Made a play on the sideline. They probably could have broke, but I got him down, and Coach Berger came to the sideline and said, "Who was that?" Because he was like, "Hey, good job," because I got up, I was excited, I was passionate about it, and it was a big deal. I actually got a picture of it. It was actually B-Mac was my first tackle.
I was going to ask you. Okay, I was going to ask you if it was like Thomas Brown because
it was B-Mac. It was B-Mac. Yep, it was
how
B-Mac.
about that? Did you obviously B-Mac later went on to South Carolina? Did you ever give him some heck about that? How he could?
No, I didn't. I never mentioned it to him because somebody came in the office. I didn't even know. I got a picture of it, my first tackle, and somebody came in my office when I was at another school, and I had that picture up in my office, and they said, that's Brian McKillen, and I was like, I didn't even know that. I just know it was my first tackle. Never even paid attention. Small world, though.
That's right, it is. And, B-Mac in one of those games, God, it must have been in the next year's game, but you remember there was a game, it was at Georgia, and maybe it must have been the 2007 game, or maybe it was the 2005 game, but South Carolina was really close, to winning, and B-Mac made a catch on like a third and long, a third and really long or something like that. I can't remember the play. I'll have to look it up, but he made a big play in that game actually.
Right.
But yeah, I did not know that. I was thinking maybe it's Thomas Brown or something. But first tackle against Georgia. Who was the best player you played against in college? You think?
Ooh. McFadden was special. Now take that back. Tyron Proto is the best player that we went against, in my opinion.
Wow.
Yeah, he's special. I mean, he did it at running back. He did it at receiver, kicking game. Yeah, he was special. Until he had that freak accident, you know what I mean? But he was the real deal.
That was terrible. And most guys from your era, so like when I ask guys from your era about, best player they played against, something I always like to ask, like McFadden's probably the number one guy. I mean, it had to be torturous in the film room for y'all to watch that.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Those performances. Yeah.
Special.
He went crazy every year. The one that comes up sort of after your era is Todd Gurley. Like that's the guy that almost everybody says. Everybody says Todd Gurley.
When I first finished playing, I went down to that Florida game at Florida in Percy Harvin. Brandon Jacob. What was it? What's it? Brandon James? Him too.
Brandon James.
Yeah, they were special. Now they were special too.
They had dudes at every single position. I mean, what they ended up building there at Florida was pretty ridiculous. Mm-hmm. All right, so on the other side, like most talented guy you played with, like who had the most talent on those early like Spurrier era teams?
Oh, I mean, we're super talented now. I mean, Cole Simpson is probably one of my favorites. Unbelievable ball skills. I mean, day one since he stepped on there. I mean, he was a guy. Just natural football player. Instincts, everything. He's probably one of my favorites.
I think so. This would have been the year. No, you would have been on the team. Mm-hmm. The 2004 Georgia game.
Okay.
Williams Bryce.
And he had 2 or 3 picks. He took one to the house.
Yep. So Carolina was up 10-0, maybe lost 16-10. Heartbreaking game.
Yep.
But that I always tell people, and I remember where I was watching it, and maybe it was the vantage point. I had a particular vantage point of being sort of in the end zone. Mm-hmm. That was one of the best plays I've ever seen in person. He picks off David Green. He tries to throw like a deep out. Coe reads it, picks it off, spins around, takes it to the house. One of the best plays I've ever seen.
Right, without a doubt.
Insane play.
I mean, that ball was in the air. He was going to get it. I mean, it wasn't just breakups. I mean, he was going to get that. He was getting paid. He was getting paid out there for sure. Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
So let's see. I'm trying to think 06, 07. Let's go to 07. Mm-hmm. All right. So first year of Shane Beamer. He was your position coach. So you were playing Spur at that time. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
And still playing on special teams.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Because Beamer was coordinating special teams at that time, I guess. Or was it somebody else?
He was.
Okay. So tell me about him as a coach. Like, what were your first impressions?
Very energetic, very positive, players coach. You always felt like you knew exactly where you stood with him. Just great ability to connect with the players. I mean, you knew he definitely cared about us. That's what I definitely could say about him. Always the same person every time I see him still to this day. So it was a great experience.
Did you kind of, even then, obviously you were in a different place than you're a player before you got into coaching, but did you or anybody else kind of look at him and say this guy probably has like head coach type traits or material in the future?
Well, definitely. I mean, like I said, he was passionate about what he did. In the film room, I mean, he was very articulate. He can get us, he taught it to us well. So, I can definitely see him moving up in the progression, knowing where he came from, because he had shared a story, of him going out in GA and different places on his own. He didn't want to go with his dad right away. So, I commend him, and that just shows the work ethic and everything about him.
Yeah. So speaking of GA, like breaking into coaching, was it right after your playing days at South Carolina you became a GA? Or was it?
Well, I was with in the athletics department with Raymond Harrison at the time.
That's right.
So I would dip my head in, with football as well, trying to, I used to volunteer with Coach Coop until they left. But, and then I was mostly in recruiting and academics with Raymond. But so, I saw both sides, and then I started coaching high school during that time as well at Eau Claire High School as assistant. So, I saw it was good. It was good times going right. And I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I finished.
Yeah, yeah. What led you into high school coaching? Like, is that the path? Did you definitely want to go into high school coaching specifically, or were you kind of open to any level? I mean, what was it that drew you to coaching?
I mean, I was open to any level at that time. I was, initially you always seeking a college profession right out of college, but you know, just that's just the way the ball, bounced for me. Being in high school, I love, you can really have a good impact on the kids. They need it. Those at that age, that's very, very vital. So, I'm happy. It's not like a job for me; it's a passion.
What were your impressions when we talked some, during the Gamecocks coaching search and everything, and a lot of former players weighed in. A lot of players went to bat for Shane Beamer. Obviously, you saw that. What were your thoughts about him coming back to South Carolina, and where do you see it going forward?
And you love the energy. You definitely, everybody wants to feel like the family atmosphere, feel that connection, and he definitely brings that because his ties. And as you see, so many people stood up on the table for him. That just goes off the relationships that he has built, and it's genuine. So you think you want nothing but the best for him and the program and his family. And I think they're heading in the right direction. Everything I see is positive. I still keep my ears around, and everything I hear is positive. They're getting after it in this competitive atmosphere. So I fully support him, and I believe in what he's doing. Got some great people around him as well too. The chaplain from Georgia Tech, I've been following him for a long time, so I'm definitely excited about him as well.
Yeah, Derek Moore is who Coach Wright's referencing there. You had a chance to go back to campus. I know COVID, sort of, in the spring especially, was still sort of among us and limited some things. But have you had a chance to go back to campus yet? Or are you planning that for practice or something like that?
Yeah, I will soon. I haven't had the chance being down here at Timberland, coming down to the Low Country. So I hadn't had that opportunity, but eventually over the summer, I look to go to the individual camp. Got a kid that definitely should, be a potential kid. So hopefully he goes there and shows out. We're probably going to do the 7-on-7 as well. So definitely will be around.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So before I let you get out of here, Coach, because I've already kept you longer than I intended, Trey from Facebook has a question. He wants to know if you remember Ricardo Hurley.
Oh, yeah, of course. Everybody remember Doe Hurl. We call him Doe Hurl. He was a grown man.
Former 5-star recruit that South Carolina landed. Of course, tell us a little bit about Ricardo. What you remember there? What's the
physical. In coaching, I talk about you got whoa guys and you got go guys. Nobody wants to play. You got to speed up. You want them players. You got to slow down. And Ricardo Hurley was definitely a whoa guy because you wouldn't get things done in practice. If you piss him off, you might as well. It's lights out because he's coming downhill. I hate it for the fullbacks and those guys on offense. He's strong.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, Coach, I'm gonna let you get out of here. Kept you too long, but hey, I really appreciate you joining us. Look forward to continuing. Talking, hopefully run into you on campus sometime this summer. Know you got a kid or two that you'll be bringing out there. We'll be out there too. So thanks for coming on. I really appreciate you, man.
Hey, no problem. I appreciate you.
All right, Coach. See you. All right, that is Greg Wright, former Gamecock player, former graduate assistant. Pretty cool perspective he has because he, of course, he's a guy that, played for Lou Holtz for a year, played for Coach Spurrier, graduate assistant sort of in the academic office. You guys, some of you may remember Raymond Harrison, who moved on to another opportunity since, but he did a lot of the academic stuff around the university for the players. So Greg was involved with that, which I'm sure helped with his future in high school coaching, getting a sense of that, and also had the sort of perspective of working under or being coached by Shane Beamer. Shane Beamer's first year at South Carolina, 2007, which was Greg Wright's last year. So Beamer was his direct position coach, helping on special teams, coaching the spur position. That's exactly what Greg did. And so he has sort of a really unique perspective. There's certain guys that you'll get that were around the program for like a lot of these different phases, right? Dennis Thomas that we had on recently was one, because he played under Brad Scott, then he, played under Lou Holtz, then he was a graduate assistant for Steve Spurrier. He worked under Brad Lawing. He helped coach Javion Clowney, Melvin Ingram. Greg has another unique perspective of having gone through a few different eras of the program, some highs, some lows, playing with a lot of really good players, playing against some really good players, and then obviously has a familiarity with Shane Beamer. And the cool thing is, Greg's an example of a guy that has hung around the state and done well for himself, being a high school coach still here in 2021. He's still, at home in the Palmetto State. So, Kyle, thanks. Glad you enjoyed that interview. Trey, looking back on Ricardo Hurley, who Greg mentioned there. He's at practice in Greenwood. He knocked the guy out. Cleats left standing where he was. I could believe that. He was a physical specimen. No doubt about that. Anthony, I appreciate you, sir, watching the show on YouTube. Greg is a great guy. There is no doubt. He's one of the best. It's like Wes said, checking in from the beach probably earlier. Wes said that, Greg is one of the best dudes you'll meet. I wholeheartedly agree. Outstanding guy. And Rob saying, hey, y'all, sorry I'm late. No problem, Rob. Thanks. Hey, sorry about the little tech issue we had earlier. Again, live radio, not really radio, but live radio, sometimes high school Wi-Fi. Got Greg on sort of late, as we tend to do things around here. My fault. And got Greg on and had a little bit of an issue, but the end of the interview, for me at least, sounded perfect. So I hope you enjoyed that. Listen on the podcast, or if you're listening live right now on YouTube, take it back to the beginning. Earlier in the show, you can watch the whole show. If you go back to the beginning, definitely check out what Greg had to say. Mark Smith on Facebook, appreciate you being with us today. Chris, love what you and Wes Mitchell do to keep us involved. When is your vacation? I actually did take a few days off earlier in the spring. I don't have time to do it again before June 1 hits, when recruiting is really going to kick up. But in July, I'll head to the beach again for a few days or something like that. And earlier, somebody, let me see if I can find. Earlier, somebody mentioned, I already put this one up once, USC Insider. Anyone going to the Welcome Home Tour in Greenville today? Again, I will be there. I was at Florence yesterday, Myrtle Beach yesterday for two different Welcome Home Tour meetings. Going to be in Greenville today. Justin Stepp, very energetic Gamecock wide receivers coach, South Carolina native. He will be up there. I think the way that South Carolina seemed to structure it is, Jimmy Lindsey, who was at the Myrtle Beach stop, Gamecock's defensive line coach, he actually recruits that region for South Carolina. In Florence, that's where Mike Peterson recruits, so he was there. And then I think you're going to see Justin Stepp there because he's going to help recruit in the upstate. And so if we get a couple more minutes, I might play a little bit more of this Shane Beamer video. We got to keep on Greg for an extended amount of time, whether it was tech issues or I just got a little long-winded because he's got some cool stories. Kyle, what beach is your favorite? Oh, every year we actually go to Garden City every year because my wife and I, we didn't know each other at this point, but she went there every year with her family. I went there a decent amount growing up, particularly like in high school. So we go there every year. So that's sort of a sentimental favorite. It's not Myrtle proper, like it's a little slower, particularly when we used to go in May. It was always slower. I don't know if I have a current favorite. I'll tell you, we got to go up, and we didn't go on the beach at that particular time because we were busy doing other things, but the beach area, we went up to Delaware recently. And man, that was a really cool area. It was really, really neat up there. Hopefully get to go back one day and actually hang out on one of the beaches, but it's a little slower up there. There's some kind of saying they have like these bumper stickers that say LSD. I think it's like low, slow Delaware. Things are just a little slower there. And that's sometimes more my speed. When I go into the beach, my jam isn't being packed in like sardines. That's not really my speed. So if you could find somewhere that's a little more laid back, that's cool. I remember I've been to St. Augustine before. That was a really cool beach. And then anywhere tropical, to be honest with you. White sand, clear water, blue water. So I didn't really answer your question at all, Kyle. But I think I really enjoy any beach. Really is going to be good as long as it's not super packed as far as I'm concerned. So, all right, let's talk about a few other things. First of all, if you are going to the Greenville Welcome Home Tour tonight, make sure you come up and chat with me. It was really awesome. At Florence, this happened a little bit, gotten to meet some of our members or our YouTube show, GC Live members, listeners, viewers. But in Myrtle Beach yesterday, it was a big crowd. It was at a beautiful location. I think it's the Dunes Club is what it was called. Beautiful location out there. Really, really nice facility at the clubhouse over there, overlooking the water. And I got to meet a lot of our members, our subscribers from GamecockCentral.com, and several folks that also watch the show. I even had a guy who wasn't there for the actual Welcome Home Tour who was like at a party at a different part, and he walked through and he said, "Is this a Gamecock deal?" And he said, "Don't you do that show?" So it's been really cool. I guess it's my overall point here that I want to make. It's been really cool as Wes and I have, launched this show. It's gotten like the world has gotten smaller. That's actually something Shane Beamer said last night. He was talking about recruiting and how, you can FaceTime 12 kids now. Whereas back in the day, when he was recruiting Alshon Jeffrey, you're writing a letter, you're calling him, you're sort of limited in that regard. Now, you can FaceTime. And for us, back when I first started doing this, that's kind of how it was. Like your whole identity was kind of being online. Maybe I would go get to speak at a Gamecock club or something like that, and get to go out and meet some people. But now with this type of technology, we can kind of see each other and interact more. And as we've done that, I've noticed that when we do get out to whether it's like we happen to be at a Gamecock sporting event or out somewhere, definitely something Gamecock related, people are coming up to us and saying hey and saying that they appreciate the show, and always try to make a point to tell people that we appreciate them. So we do appreciate y'all. Obviously, last year was challenging in a lot of regards. I mean, there a lot of sports cancellations. Still got to have a football season, which was awesome, even though it didn't go how any of you guys and girls wanted it to go from a record standpoint. But y'all hung in with us. You've supported the show. You supported us on GamecockCentral.com. You've allowed us to do this for a living. And so that's a really cool thing. And so I really appreciate all of y'all for that. Wanted to make sure that I said it. So look, I'm going to go ahead and just cut it short for today. I do have more Shane Beamer audio, video. I might grab some fresh video tonight at Greenville. We'll see. He might have a similar message as to what he talked about. But if you want more, go to GamecockCentral.com. If you're not a subscriber, come join us. It's actually pretty cheap. If you go to Starbucks, if you get coffee, it's like a couple coffees a month. Just cut that out, make folders at home. Come join us. You can ask me questions on the forum anytime. You don't have to wait until we come on this show, even though we love this format too. Get you access to all of our content. We've got a story up with what Shane Beamer said in Myrtle Beach about Luke Doty, Tonka Hemingway, some other guys that are from that PD area. And, of course, Colin's coverage, Wes's coverage. Wes will be back sometime next week. I'm going to see y'all on Friday. I'm going to come back. Don't know if I'll have a guest yet. Don't know what that'll look like, but definitely will be back on Friday in some form or fashion with another GC Live. So make sure you check out ClintHammond.com, our primary presenting sponsor of GC Live, and really appreciate all of you joining us on the show. I'll see you on GamecockCentral.com. I'll see you here on Friday. I'm Chris Clark. This has been GC Live. Hope you guys have a great rest of the week until I see you on Friday.